Welcome, and thank you so much for joining this webinar on increasing the reach of career and technical education. Next slide, please. I'm Dominique Bradley. I am a researcher at the Regional Educational Laboratories Midwest, and I will ask my colleagues to introduce themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Alexis Kincaid. I am a researcher at AIR and part of REL Midwest.
And my name is Maria Dracopoli. I'm a research associate at REL Midwest in AIR.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to introduce our guest panelist from Perry Central Community Schools in Perry, Indiana, Jody, Susan, and Vivian. I'll welcome you on camera to introduce yourselves.
I'm Jody French, principal of Perry Central Junior Senior High School.
I'm Susan Miller. I'm the Director of Human Resources for the Thornwood Corporation.
I'm Vivian Gailey. I am a senior at Perry Central Junior Senior High School.
Great, thank you so much. We're so excited to have you here. And if I can welcome the team from the Alexandria Area High School in Alexandria, Minnesota. Come on the screen and introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Chad Duenhager, high school principal of Alexandria Area High School.
I'm Claire Anderson. I'm the Academy Coach at Alexandria Area High School.
And I am Megan Orgeman. I think I'm on the next slide. I am a school counselor for the Business Communication and Entrepreneurship Academy, the BCE Academy at Alexandria Area High School.
And I'm Carrie Ernest, also on that next slide. I'm a school counselor for the Health Sciences and Human Services Academy, the HSHS Academy.
Excellent. And we have students and our business leader from Alexandria area joining us a little later in this presentation. All right. In today's webinar, we're going to provide a brief overview of the Regional Educational Laboratories Midwest and the work that we do. Then my colleague, Dr. Kincaid, will discuss career and technical education, the programming possibilities and promising results that it brings. Then we will have our guest panelists present about their amazing programs in CTE. And we'll wrap up with a panel discussion with all of our presenters, our guest students, our business leaders, and our practitioners. Next slide. So again, welcome everybody. This webinar is sponsored by the Regional Educational Laboratories Midwest. Next slide. The Regional Educational Laboratory Midwest is one of 10 RELs, as we call them, across the United States, sponsored by the Institute of Education Sciences. Next slide. REL Midwest serves educational stakeholders in 7 states: Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Our work in each state is guided by a research alliance. These research alliances are developed in partnership with state education agencies and districts, and we address priority education issues in each region. REL Midwest does this work in supporting educational stakeholders by providing technical assistance, applied research projects, and then developing resources such as this webinar. We also review studies and interventions and provide an Ask a REL service for educational stakeholders. This webinar is supported by the Minnesota Career Readiness Research Alliance, or MCRA. MCRA is focused on improving college and career readiness in the state of Minnesota and beyond. This includes providing trainings on career and technical education pathways. We've also created a documentary on career readiness for rural students that you can find on our REL Midwest website. And of course, we're sponsoring this webinar. So I'd like to ask my colleague, Dr. Kincaid, to come on, and I will pass it over to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to provide an overview of CTE, including variations in how students participate in CTE, the possibilities of being involved in CTE, and some promising outcomes that we're seeing in the research. So what is career and technical education? CTE encompasses coursework and programs that prepare high school students for high demand jobs in their community and provide pathways for post-secondary education and careers while they develop college and career readiness skills and knowledge. The key point to take away from this is that CTE is helping to prepare students for both career and post-secondary education. Next slide, thank you. So when students take CTE coursework, they can pursue it in several different ways called pathways. The first are those students who really concentrate in one area of CTE. So they might decide that they're interested in health sciences or manufacturing and pursue all of the coursework offered within that content area. The next area are those students who are explorers. So they may actually take the same number of courses as a concentrator, but they're exploring multiple career pathways. So they might do some health sciences, some manufacturing, and some agriculture coursework over the course of their high school career. Next are those students who are samplers. So they might take a few courses in CTE, but they don't really take a significant number or really concentrate in one area. And last, we have the group of students who don't take any coursework in CTE during their high school career. It's important to note, though, that states define each of these four kind of categories of students differently when they're looking at the outcomes associated with them. Next slide. One advantage of some CTE programs is the opportunity to earn stackable credentials. So students who achieve certificates in high school may be able to stack these credentials in post-secondary education and work towards more advanced degrees. So an example of this would be a student who takes health science coursework in the high school and they earn a certified nursing assistant certificate, and then they decide they start working as a CNA and decide to go back to school and pursue an associate's in nursing. Once they have their RN from that associate degree, they might work in the field for a few years and then return to get their BSN in nursing and get more specific in the area of nursing that they want to work in. They can work for a while in that career field and then return again to get their master's and potentially later on go back and get a doctor of nursing practice. Next slide. There are also some really promising research outcomes that we're starting to see with CTE. So one of those is that CTE concentrators are more likely to be employed than students who don't concentrate in CTE in the first 5 to 8 years following high school graduation. Also, for students with disabilities who concentrate in CTE, they're more likely to be employed following high school graduation than students with disabilities who don't concentrate in CTE. Students who concentrate in CTE also can earn more after high school than their peers during that first 5 years of graduation, up to 12 to 40% more. In addition, CTE also helps students pursue post-secondary education. So CTE concentrators are more likely to enroll in a 2-year college than peers who did not participate in CTE. They are more likely to attain an associate degree than similar peers who did not concentrate in CTE. And for those students who decide to pursue a 4-year degree and have taken CTE courses in high school, the probability of graduating with a college degree increases by almost 2% for each of the advanced CTE course credits they earn while in high school. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Bradley.
All right, thanks so much for that overview, Dr. Kincaid. We're really excited to have our two high school teams here to describe their programs, how they establish them, and the opportunities that they offer to students. I'd first like to welcome the team from Perry, Indiana to join us. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jody.
All right. Well, it's a privilege to be here today from Perry County, Indiana, at Perry Central High School. We're a very small rural school, and you can go ahead and advance to the next slide if you want. A very small rural school in southern Indiana. Some people may call it northern Kentucky, but it's really not. And so it's really an honor to be here and talk about the programs that have been developed over the last few years. So we are very small and rural. We encompass pre-K through 12th grade all under one roof. And we also even have a daycare. So we say that we raise them from babies all the way up until they're 18. And our daycare is for our faculty and staff mainly. And sometimes we have students in need of that as well. So we try to provide resources for all of our students and our people. We are the community center. If things are going to happen in our community, it's probably going to happen in our building at some place. We'll have the Cattlemen's Association meeting, or the beekeeping club, or the Farm Bureau might have their annual meeting in our cafeteria. So everything happens at Perry Central. Even though we are very small and very rural, we have a long history of believing in that all of our students need to have big opportunities. We've always had innovative approaches all the way back from in the 1980s when they started dual credits, before dual credits were cool. We were one of the first schools that had computers in our school system. And I kind of remember that because they were the Commodore 64 and we are the Perry Central Commodores. And I'm a graduate of Perry Central, and I always thought they made those computers for us. But we have just always been innovative in our approaches and want our students to have the very best. We have 360 students in grades 9 through 12, and over 25% of our students do not live in our school district. So people are coming, they drive into our school. One of the best things that have happened in the last few years is that we have been designated an early college high school. We took the idea of dual credits back in the 1980s and all the random acts of dual credit that were happening, and CEL and the Commission for Higher Education have helped us to be more intentional about the opportunities that we provide for students. So 30% of our students earn the Indiana College Core, which is their first year of high school, for free. 80% of our students earn 15 or more dual credits. Many of those aligned in a technical pathway with our CTE programs. And it's helping our students be more successful. We used to go to have a CTE program, a shared program, where our students would travel about 20 miles to get to that location. But the only students that could participate were the students that were not in maybe as many academic courses, or they had a vehicle. And we really wanted to open that opportunity to all of our students, because we believe that if you have students that have academic access and success plus technical skills, they're going to be very successful in life. And that's what we want for our students. You can go ahead to the next slide. So we do have 14 career pathways at Perry Central. Our goal with all of our career pathways are to align to an Ivy Tech credential or some type of industry certification. We also work really hard to develop relationships with business partners along each of those pathways. And you can see, I'm not going to read down through there, but I tried to list the certifications that students receive through that program. We've had to get very creative in developing these. I'm just going to mention the diesel program right now. Our students are earning the ASE certification, the Snap-on certification, and they're also earning the dual credits. They can earn their first year of the diesel tech program, the technical certificate, through our high school. Our bus mechanic actually teaches that course. He has 3 periods a day where he is teaching the course, and the rest of the day, you know, he's our bus mechanic, and he does a fantastic job. We also have one of the largest bus fleets, probably in Indiana, just because of our rural location. And so his job is very busy. So we are hiring kids out of that program to help him so that we can balance the work. And it's been working great for the students and for our school. So we try to get very creative, and that's just one example of how we can pull together programs. We also utilize Project Lead the Way. As a rural school, you know, finding individuals that want to teach, that have the background and the credentials to do that can be difficult. So a program like Project Lead the Way helps us to train our teachers appropriately. We, with our dual credit pathways, we're always looking for someone with a master's degree. So we had a lady that would come in and teach just business classes a few years ago because she had an MBA. And so we're constantly bringing people into the community, from the community, to help us achieve these things as well. But we are able to offer a lot of different programs for our students, and we do focus on those stackable credentials and experiences. You can go ahead to the next slide. So just a few examples, just specific examples of how that works. This is our pre-nursing certificate with Ivy Tech. The classes that are highlighted in yellow are courses that they can receive at Perry Central for free. And we've also added the HLHS, the dementia care as well. So they're earning 17 credit hours while they're at Perry Central towards this certification. The students are also, a couple of things about this. So the anatomy and physiology class is very difficult. Our students are going to our local Ivy Tech campus at night and taking that course one night a week. It's offered on Tuesday nights. We found that the course is very hard for high school students to be able to be successful, especially getting all the information in 5 hours, one night a week. So our students, they also enroll in an accompanying class while they're during the school day. And we've made a partnership with Ivy Tech where they've given us some of that curriculum so that our instructor, while they're not dual credit credentialed, can help support the students throughout the year. And we've been able to get many more students through the program that way, and very successful. These students will also earn their CNA certification. And so they can take this credential and they can move on to an Ivy Tech program in nursing or another college of that sort. Or we've got a partnership with Trilogy and our long-term care facilities, and they can step into the apprenticeship model with Trilogy with our pre-nursing program. Next slide, please. The state of Indiana also has state earn and learn opportunities, which basically is a pre-apprenticeship model. And because in order to be a state earn and learn, students have to have an embedded work-based learning opportunity that's paid. They have to have the opportunity to earn dual credits, and then also an industry certification. One of the stronger programs that we have is our advanced manufacturing program. We have a program called Commodore Manufacturing. It's a student-led manufacturing facility. So our students are vendors for local companies, and they produce product for them and they get paid for that. They run the entire business during the school day. They're producing invoices, they're figuring out transportation and logistics. And it's just a great opportunity for them to learn and work at the same time. They do get paid by piece. They pile all that money together, and they have a system that they've developed based on attendance and based on work ethic. They've got a system, and that determines how much each student is paid each semester. We've had students earn anything from $600 to $3,000, depending on all those pieces. So it can be very lucrative, and the kids obviously really enjoy that part of the program. So they will take the principles of advanced manufacturing their first year, and then advanced manufacturing 1, and then Commodore Manufacturing rolls into advanced manufacturing 2. Along with this, we have been able to partner with Wapaka Foundry and develop a Department of Labor apprenticeship program. And so students can earn that national certification at the end of the program as well. If you want to go to the next slide, I can show you just a little bit about how that works. So down at the bottom, you can see that an apprenticeship for the Industrial Manufacturing Technician certificate needs 3,000 hours. 264 of those hours are in the classroom, and the rest are work hours. So they can start their 9th grade year. They really can't get into the true apprenticeship program until they're 16, but they can, they start the program early. They, by the time they graduate, they will have all 264 hours in the classroom, and they'll have some of those work hours. At the end of their senior year, they will work for WPACA in the summer. That pay, they go from $10 an hour, because we also run common manufacturing in the summer. So, and in the summer, it's $10 an hour. The pay jumps up to around $19 an hour in the summer, and they'll work and get those hours, and then they will then move into WPACA, into a job if things are going well. That will get them around $20 an hour. And if they work for 10 months there, so it's like their 5th year of school, they can earn that national certification. And so it's just a great training program for our students, and a way for WPACA to really have the opportunity to talk to students and build relationships with them, and get the best employers that they can. You can go to the next slide. We also have the same types of programs. We're just now starting to work with the Carpenters Union, and we will have one for welding as well. But the same type of articulation and agreement with their programs. Students that follow the next level pathways, or our career pathway for construction, and meet the other requirements that are listed on this sheet, they can earn up to 6 months of apprenticeship credit. And so really it's just allowing those, it was mentioned earlier how CTE programs allow students to have an entry point, and then they can take the next step. It builds on these stackable credentials. And this will mean an advancement of money for students, so they have a better quality of life. And it also gives them a lot of purpose to their high school diploma and their experiences in high school, which is very valuable as well. Next slide. So these are I just wanted to share a few pictures. Obviously, embedded work-based learning opportunities. We are always striving to provide more and more opportunities for our students to have these. Commodore manufacturing is really what got us started, and now we're trying to model all of our programs after that model. Right now, our construction students, again, we're very rural, so it's hard to go out to a home site and build a home. So they're building container cabins right now, and they're selling those. There'll be an auction of this container cabin when it's finished. The cool thing about the container cabin is that our engineering students are engineering the design, and then our construction students are using that engineering process to build this. And so it's a way for us to not only keep all of our education in silos, but start using different, letting the kids work together based on their strengths like they would in the real world. And so it's just a great opportunity for that. And then we mentioned a little bit earlier about the diesel program. We're hiring our diesel students. We're also doing the same thing with education. Just the idea that we need to build our own teachers to that pipeline as well. And so it's not only good for us, but it's good for our students. You can, next slide. All of our CTE programs, we just work really hard to think about what kind of authentic learning opportunities we can come up with. Workplace challenges is one where the company can provide us with a challenge, maybe something they're trying to fix at their company. They could come in and present that to us, and then we'll get teams of students around that to try to fix their problem. And then the students will present that back to those companies, and the kids really enjoy that type of learning, and it's a way to really apply what they're learning in a real world sense. And we all know that makes a big difference. We've talked a lot about embedded work-based learning. Internships, 60% of our students have an internship opportunity. We're, again, because of where we live, and we have great teachers that support this work, students will go to their internship 1 day a week. So Wednesdays is the day we picked. Teachers put their work online for students, and so they have like a hybrid model for their courses, and then they will go out and be in their internship for the full day. For example, I could give you a million examples, but I'll just use my son. He's a senior this year, and he wants to get into aquatic sciences. We live right in the middle of the Hoosier National Forest, so he has an internship with the Hoosier National Forest, and it's been great. They give him with a different biologist every week, and he gets to experience that, and it's great for his resume. And now he knows that's what he wants to do. So our internships and those partnerships have been very valuable to us. We also try to participate, find competitions that bring authentic opportunities. Indiana has an entrepreneurship pitch contest. They call it Innovate with IN. And we've had students participate in that and come up with their own business ideas. And that's been very successful. We have the Harvard Prosthetic Hand Project, and that's the picture down at the bottom. There's some little mechanical prosthetics, and the idea is that they want to do research about how they can make the prosthetics for people a lot better. And so they've given this challenge to students. The thing that's really cool about this project is that we bring together teams. We'll have somebody from the computer science pathway be on the team, engineering, the biomedical, somebody that has the biomedical background. And so they're all working together to find solutions, and then they present that back to a panel as well. Next slide. And these are just a few pictures that we just try to expand and get out of our comfort zone and get our students out as much as possible. And I feel like a lot of schools do, but there's just a lot of opportunity. The picture down in the bottom, the bottom left corner there is our students actually standing with the Indiana governor at the autonomous car challenge. This was the Indianapolis, at the Indianapolis 500 Speedway, hosted the first ever autonomous car races. And so we brought our students to that. We're always trying to get them the opportunity to see different technology and know what's out there. And they had a great time at that event. The bottom picture on the right side, our students are going to the IoT lab here in Fishers, Indiana, which it's 3 hours from our school. But they've made the trip, and they're going up and they're learning about sensors that they can use in their prosthetic hands. And then another model that I think works really well is we have some in-school field trips. We had a gentleman come in and talk about CAD. We had new teachers that didn't have the CAD background that our students needed. And so we brought in an expert, and our teachers learned right along with the students. And it's just a really good way to skill up and get students interested, and another great way to use a business partner to help your students advance in their learning. So the next slide. This is just a list of our business partners, and this is not all of them, but just to give you a nice idea that we continue to, it doesn't matter if you're small or a large organization, we try to tap into anyone that will pay attention and has interest in coming and helping pour into our students. Next slide. So part of what they wanted us to talk about were the benefits of CTE. And I thought probably the best way to show that is just talk about our students. This is Vivian Gailey, and she's on the panel today with us. This is kind of her resume. She has the pathway. She's completed the pathway of engineering. She has an additive manufacturing national certificate. We're one of the only schools in the country, I believe, that offers that certification. And she has earned that. She has an AutoCAD certification. She's participated in the entrepreneurship pitch contest. And I think with that experience, she's starting to see how her engineering skills can help make people's lives better. And she's getting a better sense for what engineering really is. She is earning her Indiana College Core, her first year of college, for free. And she's the student manager of our additive manufacturing center that we have in our school. It's small, but it's mighty. She prints parts for different businesses, and she takes care of all the invoicing and the communication with that company. She has reverse engineered a postal door from Jasper Engines. They had a problem, so this is a workplace challenge issue. They had an issue with a door, and she reverse engineered that, and she's going to be presenting that to Jasper Engines in a couple of weeks. And we have found her, been able to find her a local investor. She started her own product line, and it's very secretive because she's trying to get a patent, so we can't talk a whole lot about it. But she's doing that, and those are real world experiences, and that's a great resume to have coming out as a 18-year-old out of high school. And I think you'll hear from her, and I feel like what she's going to tell you is that you know, it's made her learning. Now she knows why she needs to learn what she's learning, and she has a good model for what she wants to do after high school. Next slide. This next student is a student that wasn't as academically, didn't have the academic part didn't come as easy, but she still utilized all the opportunities she had within our school. She completed the health sciences courses. She earned her CNA certification. She had an internship and a job placement her 12th grade year with Trilogy, and she got into the Trilogy apprenticeship program. And so she's going to attend, she's going to use the apprenticeship model to get her 2-year degree paid for nursing. And she graduated from us a couple of years ago. And so it's just a couple of great examples. And we could give you many, many more what our students are doing. And I think it's really changed their perception of education and help them to figure out what they want to do after high school and be productive and have quality of life and to be a part of our society. And the last slide is just the challenges, and I'm sure that all of us have the same challenges. We're always trying to find credentialed teachers and trying to get creative about how we can do that. Space is a huge issue at Perry Central. We're running out of space, and so we're getting ready to add on to our school. So that's a good problem to have, and I'm happy that we have a solution to that. Workplace challenges and authentic opportunities. Sometimes we have great business partners, but sometimes it's hard to get some of them on board. It just takes a lot of time. But we've just kind of hung in there with those partners, and so we're just always continuing to look for opportunities. And I think that just being a rural community, just continuing to get our families to buy into the importance of education and those experiences. Because our goal is not to get the top 20% to do this, but we want every single student to have this opportunity. And so just continuing to drive that home. So that's a little bit about Perry Central. I'll turn it back to Dr. Bradley, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Yes, thank you so much, Jody, for sharing about your program and just the robust, amazing opportunities that you have provided for students. It's just remarkable. Really appreciate it. And we're super excited to talk to Vivian a little bit later.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks so much. Okay, so we're going to transition to highlighting a program in Minnesota, in Alexandria, Minnesota. So if I could have the Alexandria team come on camera. And we are very excited to hear about your program. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. You can go to the next slide. A little bit. All right, that's our team that'll be talking today. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And my name is Chad Duanaga. I'm the high school principal. Dr. Kincaid earlier gave a great definition of CTE. And a little over 8 years ago, we just re-examined the programming that we were offering our students and really looked at CTE. And so over the last 8 years, we've been doing a lot of hard work to bring those opportunities for our students. So just like in the definition says, so they're that career readiness piece and also that they have the skill set to do whatever they want to do as they move forward after graduating from Alexandria High School. You go next slide. So a little bit about our high school. We are in Alexandria, Minnesota. It's right in the middle of the state of Minnesota. We are a larger school district. We have a population of 15,000 people here. In the summertime, that grows to about 30,000 because we're in Lakes Country. So we have a lot of people that come in here in the summertime. Our high school, we have a larger population of just over 1,300 students in our high school. As you look up top here, the bottom school is the current school that we're in. We are in our 8th year in our new high school. The top school is where we had our programming. This isn't about the facility itself, but just taking a look at what we did as we moved to our high school, just to step back and re-examine how we program for our students. Just a little history when we were in the top building, we were in a traditional 6-period day. Over 4 years, students only had an opportunity for 9 electives. Our teachers did a great job. Students did well, but yet we just with the new high school, we stepped back and went through a process just to re-examine how we change programming for our students. So you can go to the next slide, please. So how we did it. So you can go to the next slide too, and I'll start getting into it a little bit here. So what we did, and you don't need a new high school to do this. I think it just, at any time, you just can step back and go through a process of thinking about what you want students to do. So that's what we did. We did an extensive process, bringing in many different stakeholders, doing a lot of strategic planning, just around where we wanted to go in the future for our students. When we came out of this, as we moved into our new high school, and even if we didn't have a new high school, we would have came up with these same drivers. This is what we wanted to be. So we're about flexibility. That is, we have flexible furniture, spacing, scheduling for students. Collaboration was a big driver for us. We have soft furniture, a lot of different collaboration spaces for students, but also for teachers as well. And later on, we'll kind of get into our schedule, how we offer opportunities for our teachers to collaborate around CTE and elective courses. Small learning communities was important to us. We are a large high school in a rural area. So we wanted our students not to be one of 1,300 students, but we wanted our students to be one student out of about 300 students in a small learning community. So that was important to us. And then really why we're here today is the community partnerships. A lot of discussion about building partnerships with our community members, our business leaders, and it really comes around that authentic learning piece that really fits the CTE programming. Then as everyone else around the country, the technology, and of course, we're definitely in a relationship business. So those were our drivers as we looked into our programming for our high school. So you can go to the next slide. So just a little bit, we were asked just the time frame, and I think this is good for a lot of schools just to realize. Sorry about the is that it really takes time. I think a lot of schools think they just want to jump on it, they can do it to next fall, but it really takes time to get to where you want to be, and even then we're not there yet. So if you look in the middle there in 2014, that's when we opened up our new high school. That's where we changed a lot of our programming. But if you go prior to that, we took a couple of years to really do that research, do the strategic planning, come up with our drivers, and really start examining as to where we wanted to go with programming. 2013, you can see that we formed advisory boards, and that is the great partnership we have with our businesses. And a little bit here, we'll talk about our academy model and each of our small learning communities. But we have 4 advisory boards for each of our academies. Those advisory boards are made up of teachers and business partners and administration as well. And they work hand in hand to just, in essence, really talk about what students need, what skills they need, and how we can help better prepare our students for the future. Then in 2014, you can see we opened up our academy model, our programming. We changed our schedule to an 80 block schedule, which really allows for collaboration time. So like, for example, on A day, our teachers get to collaborate as a department. On B day, they get to collaborate as a small learning community around their academy model. And then 2015, we explored the CAPS programming, which comes out of Kansas City. That's Center for Advanced Professional Studies. We offered 3 CAPS classes that Claire will talk about in a bit here. And then we added a healthcare CAPS class in 2017. In 2018, we adopted the Portrait of a Graduate. Again, that reemphasizes all those other skills that we want students to have. And then the ongoing piece too, we just continue to look at building more partnerships with our business leaders and keep growing the programming we have for authentic experiences. Next slide. So in a nutshell, again, our building is 1,300 students. So these are our 4 academies. The Freshman Exploration Academy you see there on the left. That year with our freshmen, we really encourage them to explore different electives. We have expo, we have a career expo for our students so they can get exposed to a lot of different careers. Our counselors work really well with that academy, having students to do interest surveys. So really what we're trying to do is really get kids thinking about what is their passion, what do they love to do? Because in the end, we want them going into careers where they're going to be happy. So that is that piece. And then as they move into their sophomore year, they choose one of the 3 academies. So they choose those. We have a smaller group of teachers working in those academies. So even the core teachers, math, science, English, and social studies, work with the elective teachers in that academy. And then when I talked earlier on B-Day, all those teachers get collaboration time together to talk about students and the programming that we offer. Underneath, I'm not going to read them, but you'll see that all the different pathways that we offer in each academy. So those are there as well. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to have Claire talk a little bit more specific about our program.
So how we look at the experiences overall that we want to offer to students is we approach them with a tiered approach. So on the bottom, you're going to see career exploration opportunities. And these are outside, mostly outside of classroom experiences. So the freshman year, you heard Chad mention, we do a career expo for all freshmen. 10th grade year, we focus on career field experiences. 11th grade, it's job shadowing and a college fair. And then in their 12th grade year, they have opportunities to take CAPS courses or to complete internships. And again, those are really heavy on the career exploration side of things. And then we move into what we consider our authentic learning experiences. And these are embedded throughout courses in all of the academies at all grade levels. And we consider our CAPS experiences to kind of be the pinnacle of those authentic learning experiences. And currently we have 4 CAPS experiences across the academies. So we have an EMT&R CAPS experience, a healthcare CAPS, an education CAPS, and a business CAPS. And we're looking to potentially develop more. We have a few that I would say are very comparable to CAPS experiences as well. So you want to go to the next slide? Besides our CAPS experiences, we also have a lot of authentic learning experiences embedded in other courses. I'm not going to go over all of these, but I'll highlight a few. So entertainment and sports marketing, for example, is an intro level course in our BCE Academy. So this is a course that 9th and 10th graders can take, and it really gives them an introductory glance at marketing. And the authentic learning piece comes in when students partner with local restaurants on a burger challenge. So those local restaurants are coming in, they're working with students on creating those burgers. Students develop a marketing plan for how they're going to market their burger. The local restaurants put them on the menu for 2 weeks. And then at the end of those 2 weeks, whatever burger was purchased the most is the winner, and it will continue to stay on the menu till the following year when they run the challenge again. And then also local restaurants donate $1 from every burger to a charitable organization that the students choose. We also have Cardinal Innovations. Cardinal Innovations in the upper right is, I heard Jody mention something about a school-run business that they have in Indiana. This is our school-run business. And so it's actually, the name of the business is called Cardinal Fab. And it is a business that centers around custom designed woods and metals projects. And this is our first year of running this course. And so we are still in the, I would say, beginning stages of figuring everything out. But there's a marketing department, there's office managers, there's project managers, there's metal workers, there's woodworkers. There's people who are on the transportation crew who are, driving around and picking up supplies and delivering items that are being made. And that class can actually be taken more than once. And so again, it's a junior senior course. So if you took it as a junior, you could take it again as a senior as well. And there are certifications associated with that course as well, such as OSHA 10 general industry certification. And then EMR on the bottom right, that would be an example from our HSHS Academy. That's a senior level course. Okay, I promise we're done with the bell for a little while. The Emergency Medical Responders course is a course for seniors, and that partners with North Ambulance here in our local community. And at the end of that course, students can test out and become certified emergency medical responders. If you go to the next screen. So in addition to that, we obviously have other authentic learning experiences that are happening throughout our academies and throughout our courses. I'm not going to read all of those to you, but this is a sample listing of other authentic learning experiences that we have. At our school, we offer over 80 CTE courses total, And so you can imagine that there's a lot of other experiences happening as well. I'm going to go to the next screen. So in addition to the courses that we offer, Chad mentioned that in 2018, we adopted our Portrait of a Graduate. And our Portrait of a Graduate provides an opportunity for us to have common language around skills that we want students to be working on while they're in high school. And these skills aren't, I mean, obviously there's other skills people could think of to put on this list, but we feel that these are skills that we hear a lot about, especially the 4 C's, which are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And then we also have a skill for being self-directed as well as civically and globally engaged. And so we're intentional about these skills with our freshmen, specifically when they enter their high school career. So we have fan coaches, we call them, Freshman Academy Network coaches. These are community members that come in, and each community member mentors a small group of about 5 to 6 students throughout the course of a semester. And so they're coming in about 6 to 7 different times, and their focus is on skill development. And so they're really talking with students about how these skills can be applied in authentic real life situations and how valuable they can be no matter what the student chooses to do after high school. Beyond that, we're also intentional about incorporating these skills into our advisory time, which is about twice a month, and all students 9-12 have an advisor. And so we do specific activities around these skills within that advisory time as well. And we really encourage students to be putting evidence of these skills into their digital portfolios, which they also create during advisory. And I think where we could probably learn to grow in this area a little bit more is by embedding these more within specific courses. If you want to go to the next screen. This screen is just sharing a little bit about the importance of community partnerships to us. Chad shared that it's one of our drivers. And so when we look at the number of community partnership hours that we've been able to bring in once we made the change to our academy model, this is how many hours have been brought in or have come into our high school in the last 6 years. And there's a conversion that we use using a national conversion of, how much is each hour worth in monetary portions. And so, you look at that and it's worth over $500,000 to us, monetarily, but really the bottom statement I think is the most important. And that is, without these community partnerships, there's a lot of things that wouldn't be possible at our high school. And so to us, that makes them priceless. Next screen. And so speaking of those community partnerships, Geneva Capital is a capital equipment leasing company that we have here in town. They started in 2000. And I reached out to Mark Watkins, who's the CEO of the company, as well as Mike Tripp, who is the Director of Portfolio Services. And they provide mentorship for our business cap students throughout the year. And when I asked them to provide a quote around why they partner with our high school students and what advice they would give to other businesses who are considering doing the same, this is what they provided. And so I would encourage you to read that. I'm not going to read all of it to you. But at the bottom, I think one of the powerful statements they make is they say that it's our hope that we can continue this mentorship program because an investment in Alexandria's young people is an investment in the future of our community. And I think that's pretty powerful. And I think a lot of our community partners view their partnerships that way. And I think they have great sound advice that they offer on the right-hand side too, which is really to just reach out and start talking and start having conversations with individuals about what they teach and how they can help support it. So I'm going to turn it over now to Megan and Carrie, to our 2 academic counselors that are here, and they'll share a little bit with you.
So both Carrie and I have had the chance to be school counselors at our old high school and at our new high school. Our old high school is Jefferson High School, and the new high school, Alexandria Area High School. And I'm going to talk first about our academy selection process and how we have really specifically, we've seen a big difference in our seniors and the impact this academy selection has had on our seniors. At Jefferson High School, because thinking about your future can be overwhelming, it was easy for kids to put it on the back burner or to avoid the conversations. And then it became very real their senior year when they had to choose a career or apply to college. And you know, we as school counselors saw that moment where kids had high levels of anxiety, not quite sure about what they wanted to do for their future. Here at Alexandria Area High School, during their 9th grade year, midway through, they go through a process to select an academy. And what we've seen is that it's almost like a safe level of anxiety that these kids feel and families feel that motivate them to think about their futures earlier. And so they work with advisors to talk about their passions, the courses that they've enjoyed. They dream about their futures. They bring in their parents, and we know, you know, especially if you have a high school age student, you know that kids don't naturally really want to talk about big things like their futures with parents. So this provides support and a structure for those conversations. And, you know, really, they choose an academy their freshman year and enter into the academy their sophomore years and enter that small learning community that Chad had talked about. And within that small learning community, they really have a chance to be concentrators or to look at a pathway, plan for a pathway, and select courses that support that pathway. One big thing about our academy selection process is that it also doesn't limit the kids. And so they choose an academy for the next 3 years, but they can also take courses in other academies. We've had kids that choose an academy and then pursue passion, like maybe an EMTNR academy, but pursue passions in the arts because they also like to have art as part of their high school experience. And so I really think this academy selection process has really helped prepare our seniors for that next step after high school, way better than what we did at our old high school. And I think that really, I can speak for both of us, but our seniors feel more prepared, they have less anxiety, and it's a fun conversation to have seniors and to look back at all the planning that we've been intentional about through their 4 years of high school.
I agree with Megan too. This is year 22 for me. So I had a lot more years in the old building than I did here in the former curriculum that we did. I definitely see kids feeling a lot more comfortable leaving the building, moving on to next steps. So that's a fun thing. It's not to say that we don't have kids leave here stressed, sometimes not knowing everything, but I think as a whole, a lot more kids feel more comfortable with what those next steps are. So Claire talked about our advisory program, and we have an advisory program grades 9 through 12. So when they come in as a 9th grader in that freshman exploration academy, they're in an advisory group that's with the freshman teacher who's part of that freshman exploration academy. These advisory groups are small, probably about 20 students, roughly in each academy. So our advisors have time to see these kids often. They may have them in class as well, but the way we have these students situated in the building too, they're between 2 floors in our high school. So they have an opportunity to see these kids often, even if it's not in advisory every single day. So that's part of that smaller learning community that Chad was talking about too. We work really hard to create smaller spaces for teachers to know staff and for staff to know students. So in that 9th grade, there's a lot of exploration focus, which is part of the academy name, the Freshman Exploration Academy. So a lot of focus is on just getting in and getting comfortable with the building, getting comfortable with the staff, so that relationship building. And they are starting to explore career opportunities. So doing a lot of inventories, we're starting that portfolio process and doing the basics with it. I think when you look at that scope and sequence, we've worked really hard over the last 6, 7, 8 years to really create this opportunity that goes with what kids are ready for. So as 9th graders, we're giving just a little bit at a time and helping them to really explore those opportunities and building on that each year. So we use a program called Minnesota Career Information Systems, and students are able to use or do career inventories off of this, and then we can build on that. They may go back and do an inventory again as a junior or a senior, and it's fun for us to see if they line up or if they've had some new opportunities and experiences that have reshaped their thinking a little bit. So a lot of work on that scope and sequence and just that career readiness around our advisory program. So We also have senior leaders that come into those freshman advisory classes and share their experiences and opportunities, and sometimes things like if I would have known then what I know now kind of opportunities, trying to help kids just be ready for that next step, like when Megan talked about jumping into whatever academy they are going to be choosing in their sophomore year. So another thing that I'll speak for Megan and myself as school counselors, that we've worked really hard and developed further than what we had in our old building, is having an individual meeting with each senior within our academy. I think these are fabulous. I think sometimes these meetings are like, well, you don't need me. You've got it all figured out. We've got parents who are fully equipped and you've done everything. There's still really fun conversations to have about what the kids are doing. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, you were really paying attention back then and that helped you get to this point. The other thing it does is it helps students come in and feel comfortable in that individual setting to maybe feel overwhelmed or completely lost about the process and know that, you know what, we're gonna break this up and make it a smaller, just a smaller portion of what we do, and we're gonna meet again another 2 or 3 or maybe 4 or more times just to really help that student feel comfortable with whatever those next steps are. I think a big piece for us too is knowing that not every student goes on to college or to 4-year college, and to really help and create those opportunities and listen to experiences and maybe give opportunity to even rethink a senior year. I just met with a student yesterday and she's like, okay, just kidding. I was all medical and now I'm not. So looking at second semester, let's change some classes. Let's see what other opportunities might help you. Had I not had those senior meetings, that opportunity may have been lost in the shuffle. So I'll let Megan wrap up on the senior meetings with what she's seeing.
Yeah, I agree with Carrie. It's a really special moment as a school counselor to reflect back on how much a student has grown throughout their experience within our academies. We go over the senior timelines with applying to college, financial aid, different apprenticeship or career opportunities for kids, and just make sure that they are ready to take that next step after high school. And like Carrie said, the meetings are highly individualized, so every meeting is different based on where the student is at. And we bring in parents if more support is needed. And it's just a really special moment to see the impact of our academy model on the students.
Next slide, please. So Sam, I think I saw maybe jump on. Sam Steidel is going to be the business partner that's joining us today. So he is a certified financial planner with Ameriprise. Anna is our alumni student who is going to be joining us. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well today, but I do have her responses. She provided me some written responses. And then we have Haley Kent here, and you can see Haley probably moving up to the front of the table here. Haley is a current senior with us in the class of 2022. And then we also have Eric Hartman, who just came into the room, and Eric is one of our business teachers here at the high school. If you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah. So that just kind of concludes our presentation here from Alexandria High School. We have many schools that reach out to us. So we have my contact there and Claire's contact as our academy coach. And we welcome anyone to contact us if they have more questions. We have had many school districts from around the country come and visit us and learn more about our academy model, and they're welcome to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to both of our amazing schools for taking the time to talk about what you all are doing in CTE. It's really incredible to hear all the amazing work you all are doing. And we're going to continue to dive into that in our panel discussion. Just to give a little background about what the panel will look like. It's going to be in 3 sections. We're first going to talk with practitioners. Then we will move into talking with students. And then, I think it'll be business our students, and then we will move into talking with our business leaders. So if we could go to the next slide, we will get started with our questions for practitioners. And just to reintroduce everybody, so we have Jody from Perry Central Community School, and then the amazing team at Alexandria Area High School. So our first question, I will direct this for Jody. So what has been the biggest win you've experienced in implementing your CTE program?
I think that, and I feel like if our teachers were here, they would tell you this the same. I feel like the biggest win that we're having is just it's changing the landscape of our schools. Our students are able to find their purpose and their strengths, because sometimes they can't find that in a traditional classroom, and they're able to start making connections to the world outside. We've had numerous students come out of our CTE programs and they have walked right into jobs, or they have been able to go on to college and complete programs that normally maybe would have really struggled to do that. And so they feel very confident in what they're doing. When they go out to talk to other communities or other students of their same age, they're surprised by that they have dual credits, and other kids don't even know what dual credits are, or they've had internships and other students haven't. And so that gives them that sense of pride, and also that confidence they need to keep moving forward. And so I really feel like our CTE programs are changing the feel of high school and how they feel about learning in general.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna pass the same question over to the Alexandria area team, particularly if Eric would like to share, who is a teacher at the school. So what has been the biggest win you've experienced when implementing your CTE program?
Yeah, so I like this question because it kind of allows us to talk about maybe a specific example. I think across the board though, like our students, just to see the biggest win has to be them realizing that what they're learning is what's going to help them in the future. Business, I'm a business teacher, but it's constantly evolving, changing. So for me to think that I have all the knowledge that I'm going to pass on to them, and in 5 years when they graduate college, they're going to be ready, I think is probably an overconfidence of me. So like today, for example, I have 8 judges coming in and working with students on sales. They're selling products directly to people that are in retail fields. They're getting direct feedback, instruction. On Monday, we had a retail guest speaker that came in and did a role play scenario for them to practice. So I think anytime you can bring, community partnerships into the classroom, students are always going to respond positively. So my biggest win, before I get too carried away here, my biggest win, I would say though, has been Geneva Capital. There was a quote from Mark Watkins, I know, when we presented. Mark owns a financing business in town. There's about 50 employees. And I actually had never met him before. I pitched him an idea for him to be the main sponsor of a marketing plan. It started with $3,000 that students would basically present a marketing plan and he'd pick one winner. And it's evolved to now it's $21,000 in scholarships. Students perform and present their plan in our theater. There's about 300 or 400 people that go to the event. Students are working on it over Christmas break with me. I mean, their motivation, how bought in they are. They're working directly with a business throughout this. They have a mentor from Geneva Capital. So it's just been amazing to see how things grow, which I think that would be my next, if I was to answer the next question, my advice would be to start small and build, and you'll be amazed how much community members want to be a part of things, how much they want to give back. You might not nail it with the first person and it might take a while, but once it builds, it's pretty amazing what happens. And, to finish the story, I just got an email from Mark and we started a business foundation, a DECA foundation for students. We've raised $422,000. And he just told me yesterday that he wants to donate another $50,000 match. So like you start small, but I think if you organize it well and they can see the result, you'll get a lot of buy-in.
That sounds awesome. Thank you for sharing. I also want to add to the rest of the Alexandria area team, if you have any other insight on your biggest win, or as Eric brought up, like any other advice you would give to other districts trying to develop a similar CTE program.
I think our community partnerships is a huge win. Our students are getting out into the community, getting practical real life experience. And when they leave, we see our kids leave with confidence and we see them leave with purpose. They know where they're going. they've actually gotten to experience some of their interests and passions in a real life setting, and they're ready. And we hear all the time about our kids going to college and feeling like they are very comfortable at whatever college they go to. And in a lot of cases, being to the top in their class. And that's not just academically, but with all of the experiences that they've had through our school. So just to know that our kids are confident and prepared, and that they do well at the next step, whatever that may be, I think that's our biggest win.
I'm gonna also add the mind shift of our building and our staff. I think you go back 10 years ago, there was a big push for STEM and everyone go to a 4-year school, and it was kind of the school dictating where we thought students should go. So by going to our academy model and with CTE, it's reversing that and just asking our kids what do they love to do and what they're passionate about, and we switching our philosophy to helping them, each student, get to where he or she wants to be in life. So when they leave our high school, they are going to wherever they're passionate about, be it a 2-year school, 4-year school, into the workforce. I think they're leaving us much more, I think, knowing where they want to go and what they want to do. So it's just kind of that mind shift switch on our part too, I think was a big win.
Great, thank you so much. And I will pass the same question back to Jody. So what advice would you give to other districts trying to develop a similar CTE program?
I feel like the biggest advice is, and the business teacher, and I apologize, I can't remember your name, he kind of mentioned this, is to start small and don't give up. And then it's really important to find the right person, your business partners, to bring to the table. Not all of them can see the vision, and you'll get to hear from Susan in a little bit, but she has the vision, and she's the one that can really get the work done with the business partners and getting creative and buying into our students. It's really about finding those right people, and you might go through a few before you find the right one, but it's worth the wait. I also think that sometimes when I've learned as being principal for a long time is I used to think that I had to start something with everybody. Like we had to do it. How are we going to get the whole school to do it? And that's not really the best approach, because it'll never happen. You have to start with really small pockets of these models, and then you just kind of keep bringing people together, and then it continues to grow, and people start to understand the mindset, and they see the success. And I think that that's how we have been able to grow our programs. It started for us with Commodore Manufacturing, and that took us 5 years to really get it where we wanted it. And a lot of headaches and a lot of things that didn't go well, but we didn't give up. And now we're starting to see the benefit of that, and how we build programs down the road. So I feel like those are probably the 2 biggest pieces of advice that I could give. And sometimes there are policies and procedures and things in education that get in the way too, and you just can't let those stop you. You have to go. We always try to figure out how we can go around them or through them or over them, whatever it takes to get them what's best for kids.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to all of our practitioners. So next we're going to move on to the portion of the panel for students. So we have Vivian from Perry Central, and then Haley from Alexandria area. And I believe we have some written responses from Anna as well, who's an alumni of Alexandria Area High School. So I'll start with Vivian first. So if Vivian, if you are there, if you'd like to tell us about your experience, what it's been like participating in CTE courses, and then also what has been a goal or a target for your CTE experiences.
So for most of the years that I've been in the CTE programs, building relationships with people has probably been the best. The people that you work with probably makes the best of a job. And the different students that I get to work with in different age groups that kind of collaborate with me make everything so much better. We learn from each other, we brainstorm literally everything. And it's something that made everything a lot better. But I feel like my experience in the CTE programs is a little bit different, as we have our 3D printing programs. And I've kind of been managing that, and it's been absolutely amazing for my future. And I absolutely love it. There's nothing else I think I'd rather do here. And my targets and goals for this was kind of where I am now. I built a lot of stuff on the computer. I do a lot of stuff by hand. I meet a lot of people, and I've gotten my certificates that I feel like I deserve, and I've worked really hard for all this. And so I'm kind of looking for my new goals now because I feel like I've completed almost all of them I've made.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And that sounds really incredible, everything you've been doing through your CTE programs. So we really appreciate you sharing that. I will pass the same question over to Haley from Alexandria area. So what has your experience been participating in CTE, and what have been your goals or your target for your CTE experience?
Personally, I've had a lot of experiences and taken a lot of CTE courses over my 4 years at AAHS. And I think they've really helped me to kind of find what interests me and help me develop skills for my specific pathway, which is business. I think my biggest experience, or what has had the biggest impact on me, is my business CAPS class. And I'm currently taking that right now. We're about halfway through it, but it's really given me a chance to not only develop soft skills like communication and collaboration, but also to learn all the marketing and business pieces in a real life experience versus just learning it from a textbook too. And I also have been able to work with a lot of different local businesses and community organizations that I'm not really necessarily looked on and guided by a teacher, but it's something that I can learn myself and really work on becoming independent in those skills. And for my goal overall with CTE courses, I think I want to make sure that I'm solidified in my passion for business and making sure that I'm fully prepared to pursue it in college education and even turn that into a career.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Does Anna have written responses for those questions? If you would like to share those?
Yes, so this is Claire, and speaking on behalf of Anna's Willing. I would say that a lot of what Anna has kind of reiterates what Haley shared. Her biggest thing in regards to the experience is she wanted to make sure that the business was her true interest. And so by taking the CTE courses that she was able to take in high school, she was able to do that. And she talks a lot about being able to partner with local companies and local businesses to really work on marketing and research plans in a real life situation. She also notes that the opportunity to connect and network with people in the business helped test some of her critical thinking and her creative thinking skills. And she specifically notes that it truly grew, her confidence in herself as a businesswoman. And then for the second part of the question, her goal or her target, was to go to college and find out, right, that she was reassured in the fact that business was truly her interest area. And so she talks about how going into college, having had professional experience with working with business partners, she feels gave her a leg up. And so I'll just read one of her statements here. She said, I came in a step up in confidence, experiences, knowledge, and much more. Being able to speak to the experiences I had at AHS in these courses has been so beneficial in interviews, in my classes, and in my extracurricular involvements. I couldn't stress more how beneficial the classes have been to me and how beneficial I know they could be to students everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then Haley, I will ask you, what advice would you give to other students who are thinking of pursuing a CTE pathway? That could be any pathway or the business pathway that you're pursuing.
For other students and with any CTE experience, I would say go into it with an open mind and don't be afraid to kind of push yourself and work towards other skills that you haven't quite developed yet. But overall, just don't be afraid to open yourself up to new experiences.
Awesome. Thank you. That's really great advice. Vivian, do you have any advice for other students pursuing either the engineering pathway or any pathway in particular with CTE?
To actually kind of build off her answer, I would say just try in general. No matter if you just start the pathway and you don't end up thinking that it's for there's no point in not trying it, because if you don't end up liking it, you'll always learn other information that you might need later. And then if you then you already know you don't like this pathway and that you can change it later.
Awesome, thank you. And then does Anna have any advice, given that she is an alumni of the CTE program? So I think her advice would be really insightful as well.
Yes, she really just encourages students to kind of push themselves, go outside of their comfort zone a little bit, even ask questions, never overlook an opportunity. So just making sure you take advantage of all the opportunities that come your way. Her comment is take advantage and be bold. The classes are there to benefit you. And then she talks about just, being willing to ask. If there's something you want, ask the question. If there's somebody you want to shadow, ask. If there's a particular class you're wondering about, ask. And so she just really encourages that. And she says that in her experience, whenever she did ask, she experienced nothing but support from her school and from her community.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our amazing students taking time out of your senior year on a Friday. So we really appreciate it. And we really appreciate all of your insight. So thank you very much. We're gonna move on now to our panel questions for our business leaders. So we have two business leaders on the call today. We have Susan and Sam. So before I get into the questions though, I would just invite first Susan and then Sam to come on and talk a little bit about your business and what your job is, and just to give a little bit of context before we move into the questions. So Susan.
Thank you. My name is Susan Miller, and I am the Director of HR for the Thermworth Corporation. We are located in this little rural small town of Dale, Indiana. We have 120 employee base, and we are literally in the middle of a cornfield. However, we produce large-scale 3D printers and high-tech CNC machines. So we have patents and we do machining and make machines that nobody else in the world does on the 3D printers. So some of our notable customers are Boeing, the United States government, along with Bell Helicopter and many, many more. So our talent is 90% local, and we do things that nobody in the world does but us. So thank you for having us today.
Thank you so much, Susan. And then Sam, if you could come on and talk a little bit about your business and your role, that would be great.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sam Steidel, I work at Ameriprise Financial in Alexandria. We are a financial planning firm. We have 8 advisors in the office, 15 or 16 support staff, and have been a part of the CTE Business Caps program for probably the last 4 or 5 years. Our main job here in town is to help people with financial planning and investing money. And so it's been really interesting and really fun having the high school kids come over and learn from us and us learn from them. It's been a great experience so far.
Great, thank you. So I'll start with you, Sam, with this first question. So what has been your motivation for partnering with the Alexandria Area School District or high school for offering CTE opportunities?
I think originally it was just Claire and maybe Eric Hartman bugging me enough to participate and help out. Originally it was just to help kids and maybe help the high school and provide an environment for them to learn. Our first meeting with kids as they came into the office, it became very apparent quickly that we were going to learn as much or more, that we were going to provide mentorship. So it started off as just trying to help out the community, help out high school kids. Very quickly into the process, we found out that we were going to be getting a lot more out of it probably than the kids were going to get out of it. So it was a great true partnership.
Awesome, thank you so much. And then Susan, I'll ask you the same question. So what has been your motivation for partnering to offer CTE opportunities with Perry Central?
For our motivation, as all businesses, regardless, even pre-COVID, hiring and finding that right talent for your culture has always been very difficult. And so the recruiting piece of it was maybe when I talk about company, initial onset. So how do we get in front of our future employees early on while we can and let them understand our culture and what's expected as an employee. So that was the beginning of our motivation. But as time has developed, the motivation has grown unbelievably. It is just a win-win for everybody that's involved. From the business side, we, as Jody spoke, we participate very heavily in the internship program. We have 2 interns currently, and one of them is an engineering and computer manufacturing student, and he's actually going to be printing something at Thurmwood on one of our large scale 3D printers that he's developing in his classroom work. So he speaks the language, he is already there. We've got him hook, line, and sinker, and he has us the same. So there's definitely a future, hopefully, employee there that's going to just grow our business in the direction we want it to be. We also have an HR intern who has done I-9 audit, and anybody that's in HR understands how horrible that is, and she did it unbelievably successfully. She runs our total employee engagement from our Biggest Loser to Veterans Day and everything, which actually took a huge chunk off my team's plate. She's also now learning about employee personnel files and working through that. I had an intern previously from computer manufacturing that wrote their host safety book and developed their application for employment and types things. So the internship program has really grown, and it's a win-win for both sides. And then I'm going to tell you, the environment when these students that have these great work ethics are in your building every day, it is just so much fun. There is just you can see people smile when you see them come in the door. So the internship is part of that motivation. And then recruitment, just period. Perry Central is great. They let us get in front of these students all the time. When I get in front of a student, I'm also getting in front of a parent. I'm getting in front of somebody that the student's going to go home, hopefully in their kitchen, and say, hey, I went to Thurmwood today. They are amazing. And so during that process, I talk about benefits, and I talk about all the things that are important to a future employee from employer. So I'm really hoping that some of that is transferring to their parents as we do the recruiting. It also is just community involvement. And as people in business, and especially in our small rural communities, we're a team. The education sector, the business sector, Wapaka, Jasper Engines, they've all been partners with Thurmwood during the year. And it's just important that that rural community sticks together, because we want our kids to stay. So we want them to go out and get this education, or just get the education in high school and come in as that skilled labor that is going to be important for our growth. So it's a win-win for everybody, including the community, the students, the school, and most definitely the businesses that are involved.
Thank you so much for sharing, Susan. So I'll ask the next question to Sam. So what advice would you give to other business leaders to develop a successful partnership with school districts?
Yeah, I think it starts at the school district a little bit, and having the leadership to be passionate about it. And the people sitting in the conference room at Alec High School right now they're passionate about it. They believe in it. They're all in. That makes business leaders want to be all in and want to participate in it. So for business leaders, I think it's important to take it seriously. This isn't a babysitting operation. This is an opportunity to truly form a partnership and let these kids come in and be consultants for your business. A lot of times business owners or business leaders think they have a lot of things or most things figured out. They haven't looked maybe through a different lens before, or haven't looked through a different lens in a long time. The kids that we have in this community, and it sounds like in Indiana as well, with the technology that's available to them now, and the opportunity to learn different business techniques, it's been eye-opening. So I think as a business leader, take it seriously, try to get as much out of it as you can, treat the kids as they're coming in like you would treat another business consultant. They've looked at our business and done a cause marketing campaign. Currently, they're doing an employee satisfaction or employee retention campaign. You know, those are things that, especially the employee satisfaction and retention, couldn't be more important right now. With if you lose an employee, how terribly hard it is to replace them. So they've brought a couple campaigns to our office that we've overlooked. And frankly, it's been very beneficial.
Thank you so much, Sam. And then I'll ask the same question again to Susan. So what advice would you give to other business leaders to develop a successful partnership with school districts?
The first advice is, I'm going to echo what Jody said, was find a person with a passion. You have to have the right people from the business side and the right people from the school district side. When that passion hits head on, there's nothing that you can't do together with the school corporation. Learn to speak the language. In the very beginning, we discovered that business people have a language and education professionals have a language, and it wasn't the same. So even from just using terms like meeting maker, and this was 5 years ago when we first started the relationship, we just had to learn to speak each other's language. And now that we do, we're very successful. And when we don't understand the language, we ask each other. So that open communication. Bring the check writers to the table early. So it is important that your HR team, a lot of times we can go out and we get great ideas, but we have to come back and present them to our C-suite so that we can get a check written to support it. And early involvement of the check writer is extremely important. And then you want to be sure that you're communicating back with the check writers the success, so they know what the return on their investment is. Don't be easy on the students. I was guilty. We asked for Colander Manufacturing to do some work for us, and they brought back their presentation, and me being the softie, I was like, oh, that's awesome. This is great. One of our VPs said, no, go back to the table and do it again. So after the students left, I'm like, I cannot believe you just did that to those students. They worked so hard on that. We could have helped them fix it. And he said, no, Susan, they need to understand what return on investment means and what we're looking for as a company to make that successful. Those students came back and they blew us out of the water. So I had reluctantly had to admit that I was wrong. So yes, hold them accountable. Never say can't from either side. That is one of the luxuries of we've had working with Perry Central, and we have worked with other high schools in the area, but they say there's red tape or we can't do this because of scheduling. The innovative approach that Perry Central has had has helped us be able to make their programs work in our business world. So we're very much appreciative of that. Be sure to don't take it easy on them, and don't underestimate them. That is another piece that we've learned over time is these students are amazing, and their insight on how to solve problems is a different approach than what we've had, because that's the way we've always done it. So getting that young mind thought process involved early is extremely beneficial from that. One of the other things that has come is I have learned how to communicate with that next generation. And that's the generation that's going to be the leaders in our workforce in a very short period of time. They communicate differently than what we have been taught and what we do. So that was a good thing. So not only communicate with your educational professionals, but learn how to communicate with that age group. So the advice I give you is just don't say no. Nothing's impossible. And communicate often and learn the language, and remember to involve the people in your business that can write the checks. I was pledged, Perry Central asked me to go on some site tours 5 years ago to some schools. And on the way home, I was texting the owner of our company going, we are going to do this. And so Jody had a meeting that had several people from the community, Wapaka, Jasper Engines, and Ivy Tech. And when Wapaka said, we can do this, my company was texting me going, we can do it better. So that competition worked out real well for us also. So we're just excited to be part of it. And if anybody has any questions or wants help on how our approach, I am more than willing to sit down and hear what you have to say. And just don't give up on it. Sometimes it doesn't work. We've had to step back and punt more than once. But at the end of it, when you see a child that maybe would not have done anything after school, that wasn't your 4.0, didn't have that internal motivation to be great, or maybe even nobody at home to help them grow. And you see that child then step up on the stage in the state of Indiana at the Chamber of Commerce and accept a scholarship for the work they did in Commodore Manufacturing, presented to the governor. And prior to Commodore Manufacturing, that child had no idea what they were going to do with the rest of their life. Jody and I got to sit at that table with the mother when that child received that award from the state of Indiana Chamber of Commerce. And that mother had tears. Jody and I cried right along with her. That was the most amazing thing. So look for the wins. They're little, they're big, but whatever it is, don't give up, and involve all children of all abilities and skill sets and whatever their future may be. It's amazing what these young children can do if the adults in the world get out of the way and just let them go. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Susan and Sam, for your great insight as business leaders working with CTE. I think it's a really important component of CTE programs. So it's really great to hear your insights. So can we go to the next slide? So we're just going to wrap up here. So I just want to say thank you again to all of our speakers and panelists, our students, our business leaders, for taking the time to talk about your CTE programs. I know this will be incredibly useful to any school districts or any administrators that watch this webinar. So we really appreciate all of your insight and advice. We also would encourage anyone who is interested in learning more about CTE or about REL Midwest to follow on Twitter or to sign up for our newsletters to stay up to date with additional resources and upcoming events. The newsletter and all this information can be found on the IES REL Midwest website. So if you are interested, feel free to sign up for that. And this is also a link here to a research report that was done by REL Midwest about CTE in the states of Indiana and Minnesota. So if you'd like any more information about the research REL Midwest has done, this would be a great resource here. And then next slide, please. So thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to come learn about CTE. Hope you have a great rest of your day.